And we are preparing students, we are preparing champions here who will be eligible to give their CUET undergraduate exam, and they can be enrolled in their, and you can be enrolled in your dream universities. So, in order to have a higher aim, a long term aim, you need to prepare from the grassroots level. And so, this is the exact platform where we are providing the integrated classes from 9 onwards. And so, class 9 is a crucial stage where you all need to prepare and you all need to be very much clear with the concepts related with English grammar, science, maths, and social studies. So these are the core subjects where you need to be very much clear and prompt from for your preparation, not to only clear your class 9 exam, for your 10th, for your 11th, and your for boards, that is for your 12th. And after that your life starts, your actual life starts, your actual steps, the feats, the leaps starts, and for that you need to prepare from this onwards. So let's start class 9 classes, and today's chapter is chapter 1, that is the fun they had from your Beehive book, that is your class 9 book, your textbook. And this is the lesson where we come to know that the fun they had. That means here the entire text, the entire lesson here is giving us a hint of what? A school, a stage, a place where there is an actual school and where there is a virtual school. The entire chapter is actually a comparison between the actual school where we are going nowadays and a scenario which will happen after 100 or 100 years later, where students will be having virtual schools with mechanical teachers that come in front of them in a screen. And the only subjects that are mentioned here in this chapter is maths and geography. So you can see that the burden has been lessened with the passage of time or with the pace of development. But you need to know that the comparison here is an actual comparison where things are far better at this present point of time, where we are having actual teachers here and actual students in front of us. So here, gradually, this chapter is giving us a hint of how gradually technology and the artificial intelligence will overtake the entire world and including education into its curve. So let's start the lesson and be very much attentive throughout the explanation of the entire lesson, because here we are going to discuss the important points related to the chapter but not line to line. And if any student have any problem relating with the subject or relating with the chapter, you may easily ask me through the comment section. Okay, so let's start. So the lesson starts with Margie writing in her diary. That night it was 17th May and the year is exactly 17th May 2157. So it is something which we will do minus here from 2157. So here it is 4, 15, 2, it will be 13. So after 134 years, approximately after 134 years, what will happen? What kind of scenario will be there in the educational platform and how students will learn things is totally different. So here Margie, the 10-year-old girl, the 11-year-old girl is telling us about what she is writing in her diary, that day, that is on 17th May, she and her cousin brother, that is Tommy, who is 13-year-old boy, they found a real book, and the book was 100 years old. That means there is no exact calculation or precise calculation as to which year the book belongs, but looking at the state of the book, one can assume that it is 100 years old. That means the book was an actual book that we actually read here. Yes, the actual book. And the book was in the state that is crinkly. That means the book was torn and it had many patches in its paper, and the color of the paper has turned pale with the passage of time. Okay. So Margie's grandfather once told her that his grandfather told him that there was a time when all the stories were printed on paper. Now Margie's grandfather told Margie that his grandfather, that means it is a passage of time which is trying to relate to the forefathers of the grandfather of Margie. And this grandfather, he is telling that once upon a time stories were actually printed in books, and the books were tangible. That means you can touch the book, you can feel the book, and you can actually smell the new pages of the book. Yes. After that, we come to the information that both Tommy and Margie turned the yellow and crinkly pages, and the most interesting thing was that the words did not change even after turning the pages. Now, it was a very strange thing for Margie and Tommy, because they were used to the reading of pages in their screen on their screen, and whenever they turn the screen, or whenever they close the screen, or they minimize the screen, everything turns different with the next opening. But here, when the pages were turned over, they have seen that the pages, the words, the things that were printed were at the same intact place. Yes. Then Tommy believed that these real books were waste, as it can be thrown away after reading it. He compared a real book with the telebook. Now, according to Tommy, what he believed that these books were worthless because they were printed, and once a person reads or goes over the book it turns to be useless and it can be thrown away. Tommy believed that because according to him, a thing which is once read is not required later. But is it correct? Is it believed to be in this present point of time? We have a lots of books, and we even save them, we even clean them, we keep them properly from bugs and rats and other insects, so that the books remain fresh and remain in a good condition. Yes. Why? Because books are like our friends. And whenever we feel bad, whenever we are in a very pensive mood, we can go through the lines, the poems, the words that are very touchy, that we can feel. So this is very important that we keep and protect our books. But according to Tommy, he believed that it can be thrown away because it is totally worthless once one completes reading the book. Yes. The next information that we get here is Margie was an 11-year-old girl and Tommy was 13 years. So to be very precise, 11 and 13 is the exact number, and whenever you are going to answer the questions related to this chapter, because a few RTC will also be coming, so you need to be very precise while giving the exact years at which age they were. Tommy found the book in the attic of his house. And where he found the book, it is very important that Tommy found the book in the attic. Attic means a place where it is underground, and it is a place where the things are kept, where the things were kept, where the things which are unused. Unused things were kept there, and it was kept in such a way that they can't be taken out easily for use again. Yes. So this is a picture from where we can see that schools of the future will be like technology based, artificial intelligence based. There will be a robot, there will be telebooks, and the teacher will be a mechanical teacher. After that, we come to know that Margie hated school and the mechanical teacher because he gave them test after test. Now, Margie did not like her geography or the arithmetic teacher because the same teacher used to do the classes, and the teacher was a mechanical teacher who used to come in front of the screen and used to give a lot of homeworks, and the homeworks were to be done into some punch codes. Okay. So for that, Margie did not like her teacher, mechanical teacher. The country inspector was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools and dials and wires. And the country inspector, he was an actual man who met Margie's mother, that is Mrs. Jones, and he spoke about the progress that Margie made in her academic career. In the stage, there is no such reference as to in which standard or which class Margie and Tommy were reading, but there was a clear reference that the country inspector was speaking about the progress that Margie was making in her geography and arithmetic classes. Okay. And this person was what kind of a person? How his appearance was? Round little man with a red face, and he was a short, we can say that his height was not too very he was not very long, but he was a short person, and he had a red face and a round red face. Okay. The inspector said Margie's mother, that is Mrs. Jones, that the geography syllabus, her result was satisfactory, and the level, that is the geography syllabus, was a bit higher than her range. That means her age was 11 years and she was overburdened with a higher level of syllabus about on geography, and for that there may be some discrepancies, or we can say there may be some anomalies in her progress or in her learning attitude. Okay. The real book was written and it was written about a real school. And when Margie and Tommy was going through the actual real book, the old primitive book, they came to know that the book was written on a school, and that too an actual school. And from there, their imagination, Tommy and Margie, and specifically Margie, we come to know that Margie was too much attached with the type of school that was prevalent 100 years ago, where there was an actual school where students actually gathered there, assembled there, and they made friends, they gossip, they attended classes, and there were no mechanical teachers. Actual human beings were teachers there. And so this made her imagination grow up, and she was weaving the entire story, how the school will be, how the classes will be running, how the students used to play, make friends, regularly attend school. So all these things were coming into her mind, and she was thinking that everything may be funny. And for a student who is actually who is used to artificial or technology based school system, for them describing a actual school, teacher, friends, students is actually funny. And for Margie, it was a funny school. Actually, the term which she mentioned is funny school. So be very, very precise here. Okay. Then the old kind of school was prevalent 100 years ago. And this line, actually, it is very important because it was spoken by Tommy. So there is a quotation here, and there may be some RTC based on this line, that who said that the school system, the schooling system was hundreds and hundreds years ago. So this description was given by Tommy, where Tommy said that the school actually was hundreds and hundred years old, and the system was very peculiar because actual human being used to conduct the classes, and he used to be individually interactive with all the students. Now see, for Margie, because Margie was told by her mother, that is Mrs. Jones, that a teacher should be individually acquainted with the student, and this is possible when there is a mechanical teacher. Yes, but when she came to know that an actual human being used to conduct the classes, and the classes were full of students, about 40 to 50 students were there, and the individual teacher, single teacher, used to have individual interaction with all the students, so how is that possible? So for Margie, it was totally impossible, and so a lot of things can be added here, which made Margie declare that these kind of schools were funny schools. Okay. Then the school was a special building with a teacher, not a regular teacher. Now see, for them, a regular teacher is a teacher who comes in front of them in the screen, and that too the teacher comes in their home itself. That means they don't have to go to a special building which is termed as a school. They don't have to attend the school according to the specific time, that is from 9 to 3 or 9 to 2. So it was very much practical for them, for Margie and Tommy, and for the age specifically in which they belong or in which they were living, that is 2157. So at that point of time, at that year, maybe things may change to that thing. Maybe things may change to something where artificial intelligence and technology will overtake everything, and there will be no original teacher, but in my place there will be a mechanical teacher. So they thought that a mechanical teacher is actually a regular teacher. They had that concept. Why? Because they were made into that field, or they were made into that idea that things will be on the basis of technology and nothing else, and the boundaries were limited. The things were limited because the screen is the only place where they interacted with the teacher. Yes, and the teacher was a robot actually, and the robot used to give them used to deliver the concepts and deliver the lectures, and used to give them regular homeworks, and the homework was the only medium through which they can know that the teaching learning process was going regularly or it was going smoothly. No other medium or no other mode of interaction was there between them. Yes. Next, according to Margie, that was a funny school. So, as I have mentioned, who is the one who termed the the old school or the schools of their grandfathers as funny school? It was none other but Margie. Okay, so be very clear that who said this? Margie. She believed that a teacher should know their student individually. So, as I have said already, because Margie's mother, Mrs. Jones, have told her that a teacher is a person or a teacher is a robot or a mechanical teacher who knows his or her student individually. That means all the individual problems, all the individual criteria should be known by the mechanical teacher. But when she came to know about a school of their grandfather's grandfather, she was totally amazed because the teacher was not a mechanical teacher. The teacher was actually a human being. And how a human being can have individual interaction or individual knowledge of each and every student in the class. So, practically, it was impossible for Margie. And she can't even think the limits or to the extent to which an actual teacher or an actual human being can go through. Yes? Then that day too, Margie had her school, which was next to her bedroom. And it is very important that Margie's school was none else but it was the room next to her bedroom. So it was at her comfort zone. Her school was set up in according to her comfort zone, where she just need to move from her bedroom to the other room, which was all set for being her school, actual school or the classroom. So you can imagine here the pressure or the toil that students at that point of time will have. They don't need to dress up, they don't need to get up early. Yes, they don't need to go to the school through via a school by walking or with the help of a vehicle. So they don't have any time limit, any they don't have any criteria to fulfill in order to become a student of a particular school. So everything was removed. So when everything was erased, the thing which remained is attending the class in front of a screen, that too in a particular time. Yes, time was maintained, because time is the only thing which was maintained, and the other things which we maintain as a student or which we maintain as a teacher was totally erased from the scenario. So you can understand that everything was at the comfort zone of the students. The students just need to sit in front of the computer screen, and they just need to interact with the mechanical teacher with the help of what? With the homeworks or with the task which they were given. And the task should be done with the help of some punch codes, that means some codes, and codes were actually the answers to the questions asked by the mechanical teacher related with geography and arithmetic. And on that particular day, it was not a Saturday or Sunday, because on Saturdays and Sundays there were no classes. So you can imagine that weekend thing was still prevalent even after so many years. So Saturdays and Sundays were totally closed for students, and there were no classes even on the screen. So though it was in the comfort zone, it was one of the more added information or added input is that Saturdays and Sundays we don't have classes. Okay. Then on that particular day, what was taught actually to Margie? Her class started with the mechanical teacher, and she was taught arithmetic, and that too the chapter was fractions. So some fractions were being taught to Margie on that particular day. So no timing and days were mentioned here, and so we will just go with the chapter, that is arithmetic and fractions. Okay. So when the mechanical teacher was actually delivering the lecture on fractions, and he was telling about 1/2, 1/4, 1/3, and all these fractions, Margie was actually thinking about the old school. Why? Because this is the scene. We can just imagine that though the robot was giving the classes in the screen, her mother was in the room, other room, And she was thinking, she was in a pensive mood. From this picture we can understand that Margie was in a pensive mood and she was thinking about the other school, that is the funny school. Yes, the funny school. Why? Because according to her, though the school was funny, it was fascinating for her. And why it was fascinating? Because a lot of things were to be thought about, were to be imagined. According to Margie, she was thinking how students or how children used to assemble in a particular building, and the name of the building was school. And they used to make friends there, they used to play, they used to gossip, they used to make friends, they used to even loiter here and there within the school campus. So these things were out of her boundary or out of her thinking zone, and these things kept on coming or kept on flashing in her mind when the other class, where the mechanical teacher was teaching her fractions. So when one can be in her dreamland, she is actually, Margie is in her dreamland, where she was thinking about all the things related to the old school, where the teacher was an actual human being and he used to deliver classes. He used to be strict, and at the same time he used to be a friend for the students. So you can imagine that how we, actually not even we, 10 years back, the students, after the pandemic, actually, this new platform where we are having virtual classes evolved out. But when 10 years back, students used to study, actually, they need to study all the concepts through their books, go throughout their books, and they don't have the access to Google even. So we were students where we were 90 students, and we can say that we didn't have Google, and we actually worked hard to bring out answers, to find concepts, to find things related with history, geography, and even maths. So things were very difficult at that point of time. And for Margie, all these things came rolling up in her mind, that how can a teacher be so individually interactive with each and every student, and where the class comprises of 40 to 50 students. And for her, imagination evolved out more when she came to know that students or children had friends, they made friends with the same age group, and they gossip, they used to flatter, they used to make good real friends, and they used to play some games, they used to play in the playground, play in indoor games, have competitions, actual competitions. So all the things were really very, very interesting for Margie to think about. And this had just made her to be in her dreamland, where she is thinking about all the things related to the so and so funny school, according to her. Okay, so this book, which was found by Tommy in the attic, is not just an instance where this chapter, the entire chapter, gives us a hint of the comparison between the old school and the new school. It is also a comparison of human mindset. That means the mindset which has turned to be materialistic, which has turned to be technology based, where artificial intelligence will automatically overtake everything. So, people, human beings at a point of time which was hundreds and hundred years ago, were too emotional, philosophical, and humane, we can say. But students or children or citizens who belong to the later group is the people, or is the are the citizens who actually uh, are devoid of that philosophy, that human touch, or we can say that sympathy for one another. So we can say that as a whole, the people who belong to the later group are too materialistic, or we can say too individual or self centered. And this had made a vast difference between both the ages, not only in the schooling system, but also in their mindset, their approach towards anything, and their approach towards education. And education, we can say, is the level, is the platform from where things actually evolve up, or we can say it is a platform where citizens are made. And in order to make better citizens, citizens who will actually work for the betterment of the society, will be made, will be molded only in the schooling system. So it is very important that we have a healthy schooling system, and our children go through a healthy schooling system. So that is going to mold up not only their mentality, but it is going to mold up ultimately the future generation, the future society. So, with this, we come to know that Isaac Asimov, the writer here, is not only concerned about the schooling system, but he is actually concerned about the gradual development of technology and its input into educational sector. Okay, with this, we come to the end of today's chapter, that is the fun they had. And here we came to know about the important points related to the chapter, the fun they had. So next class, that will be on Monday, we will be discussing the poem, The Wind. Okay. So hope you all join me in the session, and hope if you are liking the sessions, do like, share and subscribe our channel. Okay. Thank you for being with us throughout the session.